Stop arguing online. Stop arguing in person. Get offline, guys. Take a break from Facebook. Take a break from Twitter. You're not going to be changing anybody's mind. If you haven't noticed, the Karmelo Anthony trial has passed. They found that he was convicted of murder, guilty, is going to be in prison for a really, really long time. And it's crazy because nobody really knew the facts of this case until just the last few days. We still don't have the surveillance footage, but I'm sure you guys have noticed on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere online for the last 6 months, everybody's been arguing about it. They've already come to their conclusion before they knew any of the facts. And you'll see these people arguing back and forth. And I really think that you're just wasting your time and you're wasting your energy because, unfortunately, as much as we would like to believe that facts and evidence are the most influential factors in the world and that's what people should care about the most, I do agree that is what people should care about the most. But there's this book by Scott Adams, guys. Scott Adams is the author that wrote How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big. But his second book, which is my favorite book, was Win Bigly. And Win Bigly is a book about influence and persuasion. And he talks about facts and research and evidence and data in that book. And he says that they are all the way at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of things that can get people to think a different way or change their opinion. And at the top of that list would be name calling, jokes, kind of charisma, political cartoons, things like that, which none of those are facts. Ad hominems, for example, just calling someone a name, that changes so many people's. Like, if you ever noticed, you guys ever been watching a debate? And I don't know if you're like me, but as much as I like to think that I'm the most rational guy in the world and I only care about facts, I'm sure I'm biased as well, but have you ever been watching one of those debates and someone will present like a really, really good fact and all this data to back up their claim, and the other person responds with something like, oh, well, that is something a racist would say, or something like that, and the crowd loses it and they're all clapping their hands and they're going crazy, and the person who actually had the facts and the data, which should matter, they have no aura, nobody cares what they say, and then that clip will go viral online and it'll be like, Black Lives Matter president absolutely destroys this guy, destroys nerd, and it's online, it's viral, and you're watching it and you're like, this doesn't make any sense at all. Like, the facts are what matters. The name calling doesn't do anything. But yet online, all these people are sharing it around and like, oh yeah, we got him, this is great. And that's what really influences the masses. Now, of course, I think that I'm just as biased as the next person. I like to think that I care about facts, but maybe I just care about facts when they validate my narrative and validate my worldview. So in this book, basically, Scott Adams proposes this idea that people don't care about facts. You develop in a certain way that makes you feel comfortable and it feels native to you. And in order to validate that worldview, you will change facts or deny facts or backwards rationalize whatever you need to do in order to support your own worldview. So, for example, maybe like when I think about my childhood, not everyone in my family is conservative. When I think about my childhood, I remember thinking all the time like things weren't fair to me and I was always doing everything right and it didn't matter no matter how much everybody else, no matter how much I would do right, other people would be obnoxious and then we all get punished for it. And I hated that more than anything. It was the same way in my classes when I was a child, when I was a young child. I had these crazy friends, and I thought they were fun because they were crazy, but I was always like a really, really good kid. I was a total rule follower. And my friends would always get into trouble, and then the teacher would just look at us as a group, and they would punish me as well. And I used to get so upset about that and so angry from the time that I was in preschool, from the time that I was 3 years old at home with my older brother and my younger brother. And I got so angry at that. And now I see myself as this like person who is very libertarian, who doesn't want anything to do with communism or socialism or doesn't want anybody else's problems to be mine. I'm like, hey, I'm good. You guys got problems, that's your problem. Leave me the hell alone. And as much as I like to think that I came to that conclusion and I came to this political worldview through facts and through understanding and logic, I'm sure I have a lot of bias in there that relates to my childhood and this developmental time in my life. You find yourself arguing with somebody, like, especially online, because you can't see them face to face. You can't see their reactions, any awkwardness when you're not in person with somebody. When you're just online, you're behind a computer, you can't actually see that person. They don't feel like a human to you. So you say whatever you want, and maybe you're arguing with someone and you're going on and on and on. Maybe you do have the facts. Maybe you have all this evidence to back up your claim, and you're posting links to articles and longitudinal studies and all this research, and the person on the other side does not care how many facts you present them with. And most of the time, the reasoning for this isn't just because like they're stupid, which, yeah, I'm sure a lot of them just are stupid and they just can't understand the importance of facts or logic or empiricism. Instead, they think that name calling and anecdotes will disprove your point. If somebody sees themselves as a certain type of victim or an underdog in the world, like maybe somebody grew up in a house where they were abused, they were unfairly treated, and they were punished unfairly repeatedly over and over again without ever maybe their parent or their teacher taking a chance to see the good in them. And then they take this worldview, and then when they go out into the real world, they see people being punished. Maybe it's criminals, maybe it's someone crazy on the street being held down by the cops, and they have this emotional reaction that is konponteki. It's a Japanese word. What the hell does it mean in English? It's like in your roots. It's in your blood as a person. Before you even have the chance to think, stop, okay, look at this situation. What happened here? Did this person maybe attack somebody? Are the police maybe in the right? They see that, they feel that person's frustration. They see the police as this big, powerful entity, part of the government, a bunch of strong men, white men who are in power, and they have money, and they have guns, and there's a whole bunch of them, and then there's this one poor, innocent person here, and it doesn't really matter what they did. They're a victim because you see yourself in them, and you have these flashbacks of your childhood, of maybe your parent abusing you or a bully abusing you, maybe somebody else in your family unfairly treating you, and you develop this worldview where even if you're doing the right thing all the time, somebody's going to come out and they're going to use their power, their age, their strength, their money to come and bring a hammer down on you. And maybe for you it was completely unjust. But it doesn't matter because that's what's in your soul. That's what you feel. And you're not thinking when you see somebody else on the street being tackled by a bunch of police, you're not thinking, okay, stop, let's think about what happened here. Maybe this guy had a knife. Maybe this guy was threatening people. You see that, and you see someone who is maybe from a marginalized group of people, or so said to be a marginalized group of people. You see yourself as a marginalized person. Maybe when you were a child, you see the people that are holding that person down as this big, strong, powerful group. When you were a child, maybe you saw the teachers or your elders in your family, maybe your parents, as this big, strong, powerful group. And there's this big difference in the power dynamic that feels totally unfair. So when you see that person being held down or attacked by the police, you have no chance to think. And I don't say this for people to be like super, super sympathetic to people who react like this, but I do want to give you a look into the other person's mind and let you know that I don't know if you can change someone's mind if this is how they feel and this is how they react to the world, because they're not thinking most of the time, and odds are in a lot of situations you aren't thinking, you're just feeling. And I've noticed this within myself as well. There are a lot of things that I have a gut reaction to, that I see something, I say, oh, no way, there's no way that could be true. And I realize, was there some type of trauma or event or developmental process that happened to me when I was a kid that would make me automatically be opposed to this person or where this person is coming from or what this person is trying to propose? Instead of me actually thinking about facts, I realize, yeah, I think I did just have kind of a gut reaction without actually looking at that closer. And then sometimes you'll look into it and you'll be like, wow, okay, I have this serious bias that I didn't realize that I had before. And I wish that people on the other side would take a moment to, of course, understand where I'm coming from and understand how maybe I got to this place in the same way that I'm sure they would want me to try to understand them. So in a sense, I'm telling you guys, like, there's no point in arguing. Unfortunately, it feels very divisive to say that. There's no point in arguing, just get away, don't waste your time. But at the same time, I want people to think, like, there is something that you can do, and I don't think it's through having a political debate, and I don't think it's through throwing facts at the other person. Because if you think about like a political argument, how many times have you ever been in a political argument with somebody, even if it's like at a party or a friend and you're having drinks or something like that, and you get into a debate about politics, Have you ever actually changed somebody's mind like that? I'll wait. No, never. You never change anybody's mind like that. When do people change their mind about politics? Is it when they're presented with facts from the other side? Is it when people are debating? No, never, right? When do people actually change their mind about politics? When they go through changes in their life, when they see themselves as a different player in this world. So when people go to college, when people have children, when people get jobs, when people particularly get strong promotions and start earning a lot more money, when people get into the gym and they become much stronger. Because, and that's another thing as well, if you have a contrarian opinion that goes against the kind of the average of dominant opinion that most people carry, you are afraid to express that, or you're afraid even to admit to yourself that that's what you think, because you don't want to be excommunicated by the large group, the masses. Because if you're excommunicated by the masses and you're weak, you don't have resources, you don't have money, you don't have any success with girls, you're not strong. If you go back to our evolution for millions and millions of years, this would mean that your genes die out. You're not able to find a mate. You're not able to gather resources on your own. You're not able to fight. If you're on your own, you're not able to fight against other men. So you have to be part of the tribe. You have to be part of the pack. You cannot hold, not you don't hold an opinion that goes against what most people think. You cannot hold that opinion, because if you do hold that opinion, you wouldn't be able to mate, you wouldn't be able to raise a child. So that's why people change their opinions a lot of times when they get in the gym, they start to get really strong, when they get a good job, when they change their social status, then people's opinions about politics actually change, right? But if we're just talking about like sitting around and debating political facts, almost never, even though facts are what matter most, right? But you have to realize that everybody is working their best in order to preserve their genes and in order to mate, and everything that everybody does is a function of their mating strategy. So the people on maybe the other side, whatever side you're on the other side, you have to realize for the most part, they don't care about the facts. They're doing whatever they can to preserve their opportunities to mate and have children and raise healthy children so their children can raise children. And same with everybody on your side. Now, of course, I do believe still there is maybe 10% of us that is willing to actually understand facts and change our minds, change our opinions. And I think also once you can consciously understand that you have all these biases in you, you can also take a moment to think, okay, well, if I do have all these biases, how do I get rid of them? How do I start to see the world for what it is a little bit more? How do I start to be a little bit more indifferent, a little bit more prudent and rational? And you know, that's really tough to do. It's really tough to do, but I do think that once you have realized that, you can start to change a little bit, and the world would be a better place if we could do that. But if you're trying to change the world, if you're trying to change people's opinions about politics, I just got to be honest with you, no matter how many facts you give somebody, no matter how many books and data and research papers you stack up and smack somebody across the head with, I don't think you're going to change their mind. If you want people to actually change, there, even something as simple as encouraging people to get into the gym, I actually think that would have a bigger impact on the political leanings of the world if you encourage people to be healthier. Because once people are healthier and then they get in the gym, like biology starts working, they change their political leanings because of that, basically. Getting into like the whole evolutionary details of all of it, that can be for a different video. Like I said, if you want people to change their opinions about the world, giving them facts and debating with them isn't going to change things. However, I do believe that you can inspire people to change their social status, change their ability to find mates, get better jobs, things like that. And then in turn, once they make these changes and they become a different person in the social hierarchy, they'll be more willing to, or not even more willing to, they will naturally come to different conclusions about the world and politics. So just some kind of thoughts from your boy about the whole situation, guys. Really low ROI on arguing with people online. I think you're just shouting into an echo chamber and cortisol spiking for no reason. Get offline, get in the gym, seek to find a better job, seek to understand women, seek to improve your future and find a partner for yourself, and do your best to expand the dating pool that you have to find a woman to have a great relationship with and eventually raise kids with, and raise healthy kids that will be able to raise their own kids. So those are some things that I would say, if you want to make the world a better place, spend less time arguing online with people and more time trying to improve your life and inspire the people around you, not through telling them about politics, but inspiring them to live a healthier, better life that will allow them to have more resources and find a better mate for themselves. Anyways, guys, that's my opinion. Hit me up, Young James, guys. All the links are in the description. If you want to become a YouTube member, it's $2.99 a month. Take care.